amazing. And here in my first book review, and some pompous guy is comparing me to her, but he's managing to do it in a way that makes it clear he's trying to put me down. And I'm thinking, I'll take it. Go ahead, yeah, you bet. I can be as trite as you like. I was as trite as Maya Angelou. Okay, me and her, we're trite because we're talking about spiritual stuff, and we're okay with that. Yeah, I'm all right with that. He liked all the stuff that was kind of more gritty and dark, you know, because that's where he was at. I'm like, okay, something for everybody. You could find one you like because it's got some gritty, dark, weird psychological stuff. And that makes you happy. And and he sort of cringed away from it, but he also mentioned it, so I'm okay with that. You know, and sometimes, yeah, people. It's an age that we're in where people aren't real comfortable with joyful stuff, with whimsical stuff, and I take it as my sacred duty to represent for the goofy in life, because it's what's, you know, there's plenty of vampire, zombie, end of the world, whatever. It's covered, you know. I don't need to talk about that because it's covered. But what I need to be real about is what is spiritual and soft and small and goofy, because I get a little bit offended when people falsely relate to things. You know, that's really real, that's really dark. As if you're honest, you're talking about the dark side. If you're talking about the light side of things, you're probably lying, or you're covering stuff up, or you poor thing. And I like to say, no, it's a choice. You know, there's a lot of challenges we all face in our lives. And I feel like, as an Aboriginal poet, I have been sometimes glommed onto by people who would like to save me if I needed saving, and they were hoping I need saving, and they're hoping I've got some trauma that they can help me heal, you know, and they'd really like me to. I find them kind of wearying. My same friend from this poetry thing, he sent me a Maya Angelou poem, and it's called Still I Rise. And he sent me that and said, oh, you know, I think she spoke about, this is what you're talking about, how tedious it is. And you guys know that poem. It's a beautiful poem. She's like, what's your problem? You don't like it because I'm happy? What's the matter with you? And I think about all the people I know, all the good people are like, what's the matter with you? Why can't you be happy? You know, why can't we admit that there's good stuff too? You know, we have to admit there's bad stuff. And then it's a fine line, because you don't want to be covering up stuff that needs fixing, but nor do you want to be covering up stuff that is good, right? You don't be throwing shit on the good for the sake of thinking that you're getting to the real truth, because the real truth is right here in all of us, and it's love. It's love, first of all, always love, right? And thank you for whose baby is that? I wasn't looking. Is it yours or yours? Thank you for bringing your little person. And I love that there's babies around. I mean, that's some of the best times is when there's babies in the room, you know, because they always have comments at some point, right? They do, but they keep it totally real. They only comment about what's really real, and that's so good, right? That is so good, and to remember that is always a thing that I try to do. So thanks for that question. Yeah. Okay. Who's next?
Question. The only wrong question is the unasked question. Yeah, Skinny.
What was your biggest challenge on becoming an author?
That's a big question.
I don't know. No, because I think you mean like having a book published, right? Okay. So that's a good question, because I've been writing all my life, and mostly I write for performance. And I made it a fundamental tenet of my practice. At different points I was very puritanical about, I don't publish, I perform. And I just, like, there's nobody so freaking pompous as a 19-year-old, right? I'm going to prove my oral tradition. I shall perform only as the ancients did. I will speak my words of wisdom and poetry, And you'll either hear them or you won't. Because I'm too good to kill a tree. And it was really, honestly, but it didn't seem like that to me at the time. It was like this, I was this driven, angst-driven little kid going, oh man, trees are being killed for poetry, and I'm not, nothing I'm doing is worth it. It really was coming, I thought, only from the place of humbleness of going, no, I don't got nothing to say that's important enough to waste the paper, right? So I'm just going to work on doing it with my voice, and I'm not going to clutter up the world with crap, right? I'm not going to clutter up the world with books that are poisoning the world. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to stay real. I'm going to do it like this, and that's the most important thing, and I will testify for that. But at a certain point, I lost my steam about that. And it took me a long time to understand that it was only a one-way street for me. I was being holier than thou about the fact that I wasn't publishing. But put me in a bookstore, I'll buy like a whole bunch of the damn things, right? So I'm consuming, but I'm not producing. And I was just lying to myself, pretending that I was above that. And I kind of, gosh, what a pompous shit I was when I was a little kid. And probably I still am now. You know, 20 years later, I'll go, look at that pompous shit you were there. But that's okay. You know, that's okay too. We all got to learn through that stuff. So for me, the biggest challenge was really that, was overcoming the thought that I was letting down some higher vision of myself by making a book. And what did it for me was I was starting to get older and go, yeah, but shit, I'm tired of one, I buy books and I read them and I like them and I love them. I'm tired of not participating in a thing that I have to admit I love. And I was tired of not being taken seriously as a writer because people don't see. It's changed a lot in the time since then, with all this slam poetry and spoken word stuff. Really the scene has changed, right? But at that time, you really didn't get taken seriously if it wasn't committed to a book, right? Everyone was just saying, yeah, but when are you going to become a real writer? And I was going, well, I already am, and I'm going to make you see that. I'm going to make you see that with the power of my voice and the power of my words. And one day I was like, oh, fuck, get a book. You know, have some product. Just do it. You're writing this damn stuff down anyway. You know, put it out there. But just make sure it's really well edited so you can say, well, some trees did not die in vain. Try to make it worth something because you're eating the food anyway. And it's like if you abstain from participating in life in any way. You have to ask yourself, why am I really holding back from doing that? Is it because I think I'm too good for it? Or is it because I'm afraid that I don't have what it takes to do that in a meaningful way? And often you find the thing that you hold back for, that's where you should be. That's where you should be contributing, because you've got a real hunger for it. You have a real sense of what would be good enough, you know? And then you have to just strive for it. I was very, very humbled that there is nice spirit beads in my book. There's some little editorial errors, even though they've got like the best editor in Canada, David Scholar, amazing editor. He's like, there's going to be a couple errors. But I said, well, but people will see them. We found that there were 3 errors. And he said, nah, I'll tell you what. After our little opening book tour, I'll buy you a beer. I'll buy you a beer. I bet you nobody, we're big gamblers. I bet you nobody notices them. And he was right. Nobody's noticed them yet. It's just me and him that know. It's kind of humbling because it means that they weren't reading this, you know, they're not poring over it. And I'm glad you guys haven't mentioned them either, because you're not reading from the book, you're reading from the excerpts. That's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm not going to tell where the mistakes are.
Well, we'd like to share with you, Ms. Sewell, another Universal Cree philosopher. This worm medicine proved truly fertile ground. As Far-Beyond has pointed out, it constituted a catalyst for creative thinking and expression. Here's another Universal Cree philosopher, a different person. One word, scraps. One sentence, the bottom of the food chain. One paragraph. This poem reminds me of the bottom of the food chain. I feel like the poem wants me to feel sorry for the worm at first. But then the worm seems like it's a small, powerful being who can get through any type of shit the world throws at it throughout its whole life. Stream of consciousness. The worm at first may seem like it ain't shit because it's at the bottom of the food chain. In reality, everybody should look up to the worm and not down on it, because the worm is needed in our world. Without the worm, we would have no flowers. Nothing that is thrown away will be digested by the worm, so it'll remain in the earth. Metaphorically, we can learn from the worm that whatever shit life throws at us, we can rise above it by getting through and using that shit to put beauty back into the world, namely flowers. Tweet. They make a small thing seem so big. If you think your life is shitty, just read this poem. And maybe your brand name will change to Big Worm. I named this Big Worm. Because the worm is small, but such a big part of life and the food chain. My working definition of shit: meaningless situations, nothing, nonsense, a swear word, poop. Would you like to comment on that, Miss Sewell?
Okay, can I have that name? Can I be Big Worm? I knew it here. That's my, or Biggish. I'd like to be Biggish Worm. I'm not big yet, but Biggish. Aspiring to wormhood. No, Biggish Worm. There you go. That's my name, Biggish Worm.
Biggish Worm.
Thank you for that. Oh, I got a name.
Again, I'd like to reiterate, Miss Biggish Worm, that the universal Cree philosopher who wrote that is right here in front of you. But we're going to bring Big Worm, worm medicine, to a conclusion by sharing one last universal Cree philosopher. One sentence: the earthworm is invisible work. One paragraph: the earthworm knows its role and responsibilities and is built to do this work without end. Tireless, rewardless, smallest, and purposeful, the earthworm toils and tethers its eternal commitment to dig in whatever is home, whatever is work, and it does its job every little bit. Thankless beauty. That expression struck me. Thankless beauty. Stream of consciousness. Plunder in purposefulness. Robotic, resolute work. Whatever befalls, behold, cannot become undone. It is why earthworms are created. Build a mountain. Build a planet. Timeless, relentless. Regardless, the job is all done. No breaks, no aches, skip the pancakes, get to work, work forever, undone, not earthworm, stomp and chomp through everything till work more undone, a drone from an ancient kingdom buries all that has come. Tweet. The earthworm is one relentless machine, built for a purpose, built, doubtless, can go through everything, day in and day out, swithering delight. Another expression that, swithering delight. I named this piece of writing Bone Marrow. Worms are tedious. Oh, there's that word. Worms are tedious, tactful, busy little things. They are the dots and the T's of daily things. Backup toilet is no excuse. Go through it until the job is done. My working definition of shit is when work, commitment, discipline all falls apart when I choose to quit at whatever I've agreed and committed to. It matters to the evolution of personal success. Work myself to success and beyond. If I want better, I have to do better.
Wow. I want to say thank you. And I feel like I neglected to say from the outset, thank you. I like to try and start, if I'm performing, I know always to start by saying thank you. But thank you. I want to say thank you to all of you for doing this. Thank you for hosting this Dialogic. Thank you for doing these things. Thank you guys for being willing to take this on, and thank you for looking at my work. When you write with a hope, or I write with the hope that lots of people will get something useful out of it. I don't want to be writing just for people who will cut out the thes or whatever. I don't want to be writing for the trendy, for the fashion of the moment. I want to write stuff that the people that I walk with and look up to and love are going to go, hey, there's something useful in that. And my favorite thing as a poet is when I go to readings and there's always some person's been dragged by someone else there. And those people find me and they say, like my best friend's hubby said one time, yeah, I don't really like poetry, but your stuff's okay. And I think that's the best review I ever got. Okay. Because it should be relevant, you know, to the people that you walk among. If you're going to express stuff as a poet, that's my greatest hope, is that people go, oh yeah, that's all right, that's relevant, I can get something out of that. Because then I'm connecting to something that's important to all of us, and not just telling you about the glory of me, which is what I get to do right now. And that's pretty weird. I was like, when he said they'll be looking at your work for 8 hours a day for 5 days, I'm like, but Professor, I don't even do that. What the heck? That's weird. That's a lot of attention. I don't know. It's going to be weird. But thank you, and thank you for making it really comfortable and easy so far. Okay, let's get into the tough stuff.
Well, before we get into the tough stuff, we're going to have lunch. You're all invited.